Hello and welcome to Port Elizabeth, the beautiful city. I started recording or photographing the historic parts of PE around 2014 when I saw the decay that was setting in. So let's just take a stroll. This is Pearson Conservatory, which we'll get to later, but we started our venture on the Duncan Reserve, which was declared in 1820 by Sir Ruthven Duncan, and he named his wife after the city after his late wife, Elizabeth. And this is a lovely sculpture, a voting line commemorating the first non-racial elections. This is done by Anthony Harris. I think that was a fortuitous photo where there's a guy actually walking past life-sized sculptures. Various oddities were added. I'm not sure I like this because this Duncan declared this a public open space, and I mean this is just an intrusive thing. So this is the Duncan Row, and one of the houses, that green one, hasn't been gentrified, but at this point they were in the process of gentrifying this whole area. So that's looking up Duncan Street. That's the ungentrified place. Again, and the back of the Duncan Row. The only garage that hasn't been demolished, and I think it still stands. This is Canterbury House, which you'll see in the next picture, is historic, so 1837. It had 4 gables, very tragic that they should have allowed it to become that. And now it's, later on we'll see how even that became seriously altered. So it was looked like a bit of a war zone at this stage, with no glass in the windows, vagrants had settled in. But thankfully, it has been retained, even if the character is somewhat lost. So this is another very old house, known as Victoria House, from about 1825. There it is again. And looking up Duncan Street, Constitution Hill. I think this might have been an old well. And this is Chapel Street. Another refurbished part of the Duncan terrace. That's the terrace in its entirety. It still has the sort of shape of its original. And then they were doing an extension, or beginning an extension, to the 1892 Opera House. And those are the early excavations. Across the road from it is this bizarre installation which features our infamous taxis, minibus taxis. And that's a view up above White's Road to Prospect Road, I think it is. That's the Edward Hotel from 1903. It's also undergone deterioration. And the oldest school in PE the surviving school was this diocesan grammar school from 1856. This is the front of the Grand Hotel, which is no longer a hotel, sadly. It's become a student accommodation. But the first Grand was built in 1860, I think. 1867, originally just a house. And at the bottom of the street, which we'll visit later, is Prince Alfred Guard's Drill Hall, built in 1860. And on the right, from about the 1920s, I think, is the original collegiate girls' junior school. But we'll visit all these places in detail. And finally, this is the corner of the Edward Hotel looking up Pearson Street. And there's a beautiful building on the right, but behind it you can see a roofless wonder. Just another, that was what really led me to do this project, was the collapse of some of these wonderful old buildings. But we'll return to this later. So our next stop will be on the beachfront, but for now, let's leave it at that. Cheers.